The topic that we're getting into now regarding best practices is authorization systems leveraging FIDO authentication. So let me give everyone a moment. Just have to wait for the time to turn. To get settled for our next session. All right, so FIDO was designed for passwordless authentication, but what of authorization? It can be used in several use cases for authorization. So please, let's welcome Stephen O, the CEO of TrustKey, to explain some different use cases around authorization systems leveraging FIDO. Stephen?
Hello, works, okay. Thank you very much for joining my session. Topic is authorization systems, the deploying our authorization systems using FIDO authentication. So we're going to present three different, it's kind of early stage, however, so three different deployments has different phase, so we can do, but the principle is the same, so we're going to talk about that. Okay, next please, using this. Okay. So who we are TrustKey Solutions. We are at booth 14. Today, 3 p.m., we're going to have a Dalgona challenge, so come to join our booth. We are FIDO authenticator vendors, and we have this 310, 320, which is a biometric keys, fingerprint, and T110, T124, non-biometric pin-based authentication. And I'm founder of TrustKey and CEO of TrustKey Solutions in EWM. Okay, so what is authorization and authentication? What is the motivation? So people just, we know what authorization means and authentication means. So I copy from the one from Microsoft and another from Okta. So Microsoft said authorization is the act of granting an authenticated party permission. This permission is actually the red word here, to do something. Authentication is just who you are, right? So process of proving that you are who you said you are. And I think the Okta is a little bit, I guess, more confirming, because authorization is, what is it, giving the user permission to access the resource. So you have a very sensitive data or something that going on inside a company that you have to authorize the person to come in and then access the resource or do something. This is what authentication, authorization is. So we know all this. This is I'm not talking about this. This is not the forum of the talking about OAuth 2.0, but so many people talking about, hey, I want to go to some place here in the web page, and they always have this login with the Facebook, or sign with the Google, or sign with the Apple, or sign with all those kind of stuff. So this is the moment that we are separating authorization and authentication, because you are accessing this website to do something which is authorization, but actually this website is not as strong in terms of authentication compared to Facebook or Google, so that you use their authentication methodology to get the token to allow you to access the resource. So this is what's happening. So why we need the OAuth? Because you need to have a strong authentication. Strong authentication is the keyword to get the client apps authorization. So this is how everybody is using these days, right? So authentication is the key. You have to have a really strong authentication to get the authorization and then resource. So this is why we have to have a FIDO authentication, and then everybody knows in this realm. So. But anyway, so I got copied this, Microsoft, authentication methodology, and the right side, which is passwordless, is best, and Windows Hello or Authenticator, and then FIDO security key as a security key vendor, and this is the strongest, and this is best. Why? So we're going to talk about that. So the multi-factor. So we are using something you have or something you are. So like who you are, and then something you know. So this is 3 factors that we are using. Sometimes you're using user locations, but this is not really part of the authentication, multi-factors. So first one, password and then SMS OTP. That's multi-factor authentication using phone. Or password and software authenticator having the OTP signal, or OTP token, or even U2F. These are all multi-factor authentications. And even FIDO2 using PIN. This is all same as using something you know and then something you are, something you have. And this is, the one in common is this is shareable. Meaning you can share your OTP token, you can give someone to have your OTP token, and then your password, and then he or she can act upon behalf of you that she can go through the authentication and then get the access of a resource. So this is, from the corporate point of view, this is not really good. So the ancient oldest authorization mechanism, like combination key or lock or even fancy digital lock like this is all using authentication that is shareable. So shareable authentication factor is not secure for especially authorization. So here left side is shareable, and then non-shareable, only non-shareable factor is something who you are, right? So this is biometric is not shareable. Unless you have, even twins, I guess, different biometrics tools, right? So this is non-shareable. So this is why we need to use a biometric authenticator to have a strong authentication and then go through the authorization. So, like, look at this way. FIDO authentication actually is device binding. So you are having a device, and then you have RP, and this is the authentication going on. There's a weak part actually here is authenticator and then actual user. So the second bullet here, if you use a PIN and then key and then as a multi-factor, for example, if you just give someone your secretary and your keys and then my PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, then she can log into the system as behalf of you, so that she can do so many things. So this is shareable. So we are talking about so-called user binding. So how you bind yourself into the key, yourself into the key. That way, this key actually is you who are using it rather than someone else. So, since the biometric data is not shareable, obviously this is obvious. So the biometric security key offers MFA with a strong binding between the user and then security key. So authorization requires stronger user binding to provide the user permission to access resource. Otherwise, someone can actually access your resource on behalf of you. So based on this fact, we have 3 different deployments going on right now. One is in a convenience store, so like in 7-Eleven. So post-terminal authentication. So what's happening is, the post-terminal is shared by multiple people of the employees. For example, so even though the headquarters, like 7-Eleven or like all the convenience stores, headquarters is a large corporation. Each local store, actually mom and pop, even including franchise, are small shops with a small number of employees. And each store doesn't have enough. Obviously, they don't have any IT expertise, and no security awareness. And then most of the workers are part-time employees, and they're not trained, not security trained. So, and then only one simple password is used for the post terminal, and then all those mechanisms that you can access. So multiple part-time employees share the password, and then there's a high turnaround ratio for the part-time employees that your password is going somewhere and then living over there, and then you don't change any password because it's too hard to change and that kind of stuff. So passwords is there for long period of time, and then multiple people using it, and even they are not your employee. So there's a incident in this is for Korean market. So it's Korean that the part-time worker actually quit and then turn around and using that password try to break into the system and then steal something, right? So this is that often happens in Korea, and this is more vulnerable points of the store. So system requirement is obviously it has to be easy to use, and then easy to manage employee authentication activities, and then MFA. So we propose to password authentication, obviously, and then biometric keys, and one key per employee. And we can actually reuse the key, obviously, right? So what's happening is this. In the store, you just use a security key and open, and then FIDO authentication happens in the regional headquarters, and then get the permission, and then you can access to post terminal, and then do whatever they want to do. So the whole cycle is something like this. So people join and then enroll your fingerprint. The PIN you have to have, because you can use PIN to change your biometrics. So PIN the store owner knows, and then enroll the fingerprint, and then they start using it. And then when they leave the store, and then you just get it back, and then factory reset, and then start from the scratch. So this is what's happening. And this is a window. This is not actual window. This is so I have a company logos in it. One login ID, which is can be your name or a store number, whatever, and then have a multiple FIDO security keys. And then we have account management software that the owner knows who is accessing this post, when, what time, how long, that kind of stuff. So benefit is obviously easy to use, and has the easy to know who has permission to access post terminal, and there is a resistance to potential hacking for especially cyber money, like Apple Money, Google Money. This kind of stuff is really popular. You are using some like recharging at the convenience store in Korea. So this is something that they have to have the FIDO authentication. So expectation is obviously better securities and less vulnerable, and then no accident, and then no hacking. So okay, next one actually is for financial institute that we are working with. And what's happening is most of the approval process, hierarchical approval. So when you prepare some business proposals, and then you go up of the hierarchies, and then each layer of the hierarchy they approve. So this is the problem was the managers are geographically dispersed. Korea is a small company. Even then they have like many everywhere. So e-approval system is getting popular in, I guess, United States too. And they need to know clearly who authenticate, who actually you give a permission. That person is permission, this approval process or not. That's the question. Sometimes, this this Korean bosses, they just go out golfing, and then they call, okay, Miss Kim, can you approve for me? My password is this, and I have a key over there, and you can use. This is something happen. And then when the accident happens, then who's gonna blame? I mean, that's, I was in the field, and even though that's not really good, but still, it's easy to actually have this vulnerability in terms of having this approval process, because most of the hierarchy approval process for financial institute is involved with a lot of money, right? So this is one of the issues in Korea. So exactly same thing, easy to use, no substitute approval, and then having multi-factor. So the system is very similar, which is a password authentication, biometric, and one security key per employee. And so this is what's happening. And so they are in the network or outside the network, it doesn't matter. And everything is based on the FIDO authentication. So the first one use approval servers, and then FIDO servers, and have a token attached to the proposal. And then the first approval, just going through the FIDO authentication, and then put the another token. And then third one, you get the same thing. So it's kind of complex, but this is easy. Once happened, then everything is approved by the token, and then it's sent back to the originator. So it looks like this. The top right here, the POC, proof of concept over there. So you just type in what is your request, and what is your plan, and all those kind of stuff, and then request. And then have a FIDO authentication, and that's it. So from the approval point of view, have this, the bottom, you have this, the business proposal, and you can comment on that. You can either reject or accept. When you accept, and then you can just FIDO authentication, and then that's it. So easy to use, right? And then there's no, very difficult mechanism. Inside there, there's something going on, but this is something that we are doing right now, and this is pretty well received in the, especially the banking or financial institutions in Korea. Third one is really the early stage of concept, but this is something like this. Like when you are a person that you want to receive you are receiving a package, you have a right to accept or reject at your door, right? So, but this, the service is, they want to send upon the approval. So recipient has to approve and then sender sends. So the other way around, right? Otherwise, this VIP or VVIP has a certain amount of the package that is delivered, which is not reliable, or sometimes there's bribery and that kind of stuff. So package never left the service provider without the recipient approval. This is something what we are trying to do. So initially, like one, sender actually get the approval. The middle is the carrier, the company, and then FIDO authentication happens, and then the carrier company say, hey, this guy will send you a package. Do you want to accept that? And then sure, and then accept it and then send it. So this is a simple mechanism, but everything is using a FIDO authentication and then get approval of the package. So this is a very very we see this kind of application that is popping out with the FIDO, especially biometric authentication, which is very strong user binding and strong authentication, which cannot achieve the kind of level using password before. So I presented the 3 authorization service deployment cases, and it's all strong FIDO authentication, which is very similar, and using biometric authentication, which is easy to use, easy to install, and then non-shareable credentials. This is the keyword for today. So thank you. Any questions? Yes.
John, could you go to the mic?
You are second.
We're already at the mic. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask what makes it non-shareable, because any bio-authenticator has a PIN as a backup, so anyone can enroll a new bio.
Right. So if PIN is controlled by the employee, you're right, right?
Right, but if the employee, in a bunch of scenarios, I've had companies come and say, yes, we want to keep employees from sharing their authenticators, and they believe that because it's a bio key, that doesn't work, but employees get around that within 6 seconds. So how do you keep it from being shareable?
Right. So the first deployment cases, like for example, this is a small store. So you're dealing with 3 to 4 people maximum, right? So what they are doing is this user or owner, they type the PIN and then here scan your finger. So the user, the employee doesn't know the PIN. So the owner only knows the PIN. So there's no way he can actually modify the biometric templates of the key. And then same thing for the different cases. So if you use a key, if this is like 10,000 people in the same time, having that, you have to have some kind of automated PIN control system, which is not really standard, right? So this is for the small shops that is controlled by the owner.
So from a scalability point of view, it breaks down once you have enough people that mistouch their authenticator with the wrong finger 3 times, locks themselves out, and have to go back to the shop owner to get re-enabled.
Right. So if you have some, like for example, our authenticator can hold up to 3 fingerprints. You can have a thumb and index or middle finger, something like that. So you can try 3. Once something happens to you, then you are in trouble. That's true. But since you have a redundancy at least of the fingers that you can use up to 3, or even other guys at 10, so you can use that. So once you control the PIN, have let them enroll 3 fingers, then you're gonna have a less problem. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So thank you very much for showing these use cases. I appreciate that. One thing, I know it's about authorization, but can you talk about how you're using the FIDO key to log into the desktop, because it seemed like that's what you were showing here.
Desktop?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
desktop login with your
Yeah.
FIDO key.
So, personally, I'm using Azure Join PC. So I'm just, plugging in, fingerprint, that's it, right? If you have an on-prem only, but you want to log into the PC and then, join on-prem AD, we have another solutions. But if you want to use like Windows Hello, then also you can use Windows Hello for personal use. Unless, if you, let's say your PC is Windows Hello equipped, but, disabled by that, and then, but you want to use Windows Hello, then you can use our key to, enable Windows Hello too. So
Right. So
yeah.
so in the case of the first use case where you have the little shops, and they're
Yeah.
logging-
Oh, Shop is
Yeah.
the deployment cases.
Yeah.
That whole system consists of the client program at the PC. The post is Windows OS anyway. So the client program, and then servers, and then client the security keys. So that controls the the login into the post terminal. Yes. Yes.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. For the deployment case 3, you show the senders and the receiver have to authorize that.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how is that different from the user step-up authentications for the FIDO? Or do you actually use the private key and public key to sign the authorizations in that case? Or was it just merely a step-up?
Yeah, this is, like I said, the third one is more the concept phases. Right now we're talking, so we haven't actually thought out all those details right now. But, using a key that is strong by, because the recipient actually has a strong desire to receive something that he or she approves. That's why, the FIDO key is vital to their system. They can use other system. Yeah, I mean, there's other mechanism to actually, handle that, the whole specification. But, what we've been talking with the companies is using BioKey is much safer. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
A question from the app.
Yes, yes.
So it's about delegation of access. So how would you delegate access to someone else if biometric authentication is used on security keys and in general? Does that need to be programmed into each app that needs it, or is that done somewhere else?
Well, I don't understand exactly. Yeah. Can you say again?
It's about delegating access to someone else.
So, basically what we're trying to do is not delegating, right? So if we try not to delegate, this is because most often, these credentials that is shareable credentials can be, delegatable. So that's this whole system right now we're trying to deploy is to block the delegation, right? So if you want to delegate to something else, then the system has to have, let's say you have this authorization has, you have to delegate buttons so that you can transfer that authority to someone else to delegate, so that he or she can approve instead of you, behalf of you. That's a whole system issue. From the terminal issues, this is we don't want to have delegation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there
Thank
any
you very
other
much.
questions? Oh, looks like we have another question
okay.
for you.
Okay, not.
No, you just.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So come to 3 o'clock.
Stephen, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.